on
Where's
now?
your husband? Where's your husband?
My whole life it's like, no boys, stay away from them. And then all of a sudden, where's the husband?
Exactly.
When am I having kids?
From a Lucha podcast studio in Johannesburg, South Africa, you are listening to What the Relationship with your co-hosts Candice and
Lungi.
and our extra special guest.
Bokang, aka the unofficial third co-host of What the Relationship.
You heard it here first. If you're looking for a podcast that talks about everything nice, everything spice, we're talking about Jolo. We hope we'll make a great pair. Today we're talking about our parents.
Hey.
And not what you think, like, we're not talking about, like, you know, like, Texas type things. We're talking about,
Okay, relax.
we're talking about, have we ever defied our parents' expectations when it comes to dating?
Yeah.
Lungi suggested this topic.
Yeah. Before we do start though, I do have a question. Just an entering question.
Let's go.
Yeah. So when did you guys realize your parents were human beings?
You know, now it's getting deep.
This is becoming what the therapy podcast, because I'm like, yo,
Best question.
I was ready with just like, yeah, parents dating, and that's like, when did you realize?
No, yeah, when did you realize? Because I mean, when you grow up, you're like, oh, my mom is my mom, my dad is my dad.
Yeah.
Here or not, like, it's like, oh, they take care of me. They're, they make all my meals. They take me to school, whatever. When did you realize that they have emotions? They are people who have interests, dislikes. They have dreams. They have things that they want to do in life. When did you realize that was a thing? They make mistakes, because that's a big one.
High school.
Mistakes.
Oh, high school.
Yeah. High school. Had a very interesting time, family-wise, with my parents. My parents were going through a bit of a shaky time, and I think my sister and I saw that in full 4K. And I realized that, okay, these are no longer the people that... No, I wouldn't say no longer, but often as a kid, you'll look up to your parents like, oh my goodness, like my superheroes things. And then you realize these guys had a past, they have a history, their relationship dynamic is like, you're just like, wow, this is real. But I think I started to really truly navigate my parents' humanity in therapy. Because then I started to realize that, like, for instance, I've got a part of my mom's anxiety, and I've got a part of, like, my dad's, like, often, like, very stubbornness and strictness, and, like, it's not my way, it's the highway, and that plays into, like, my relationships. So, yeah, I had to realize that. I had to, like, figure out, like, I am sort of like not an instrument of my parents, but I am a molding of my parents, and I need to figure out whether I want to embrace that or I want to let it go, and I'm still going through that process of learning and unlearning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Mine was like much later than yours. I was like, high school, I was just like, oh, my parents, not necessarily superheroes, but you just don't kind of really see them as three-dimensional people. You're the main character.
Right,
Everyone else is just filling up the story that is your life. But I guess I kind of had that realization was only after varsity when I moved back home.
Oh, okay.
And the relationship, because now I'm an adult.
Yeah.
Now I have to take care of myself. Yeah. And when you've been married as long as my parents have, I think it's like 30 plus years, you start to see the cracks in relationships, as in with any other relationship.
You start to see the realities of relationships.
And I think a pattern with like daughters and their mothers is that, kind of, if you have a good relationship, you become a confidant, So, my mom would then start to like, just tell me some of the stresses she's like seeing in terms of her relationship or just life in general. Yeah. So then you start to be like, okay, so y'all going through something. This ain't perfect.
Why am I in it?
What's happening? Yeah. I'm like, Dad, you need to pull up your socks. Yeah. And then your dad will be like, oh, but your mom. Then I'm like, Mom, it's so. Yeah. Guys, I'll literally go. I'll be
now
like,
you're in the middle.
Listen, you have to be able to communicate. When he tells you this,
girl.
It's
Wow. I've learned not to get involved because it's like it's the same principle of you not wanting to get involved with your friends' relationships, right?
Yeah.
So with my parents, I wasn't there when they first started dating. I wasn't there when they got married. I wasn't there. So I don't know the
You don't know the things.
And so I'm not the right type of person to come in to say what's right, what's wrong when there's so much of a history, right? Yeah. And oftentimes I find that when I used to get involved, like, oh my gosh, it would get so like I would then become like the peacemaker, and that's a heavy burden
On a child.
On a child, where
It
like
is.
there's tensions there. Now you're filling in the room, just trying to like have a conversation about something, and you can pick up on the tension. So I think through therapy, I learned like I am stepping back from my parents' relationship and just seeing them as individuals and just navigating those relationships because
Well, for me, so it only happened after they both passed. But to be fair, so my mom passed when I was 14 and my dad when I was 19. But I only realized after like around 19 when my dad passed, because at least after my mom passed, I still had my dad. But after both of them were gone, I was like, when I had to like actually figure life out by myself without them, I was like, hey Zan, life is lifing. Life is hard. And like, I'm sure like they had to go through a lot. Like they had so many decisions to make, including me, including other children as well. So I was like, wow, they were human beings who made mistakes, who made choices that weren't necessarily good, but here we are today, you know. So
So therapy, guys.
Therapy, yes. Also
Trauma.
after therapy, that's when I realized their realities and how like I have to forgive them and you know, take responsibility for my wounds and all of that. So therapy.
This is such a deep one.
It is a deep one. And now it's like having the conversation about our parents' expectations in dating. Like, I've never had that conversation with my parents about like who they expect me to bring home. But I think the expectation was like, you have to bring someone who matches like your caliber. Like if you are educated, he should be educated.
Must be.
You know, like
Did you ever have the sex chat with your parents?
my mom had the sex chat with me, but it wasn't direct like PP goes into this. It is my friend's daughter fell pregnant. And she got this. And it's implied, don't have sex. You know what I'm saying? So there was like a thing of like, let's talk about it openly.
Would you have wanted the proper sex chat?
Conversation with my mom? I don't think so. I laugh because like my mom is so like dramatic and I appreciate her for that. But like also there's this thing with Malawian, like with Chichewa, which is the Malawian language, where the translations are very weird. So often you'll say like, when you're speaking about a sense of like I hear something or I you know, it's weird because the translation will be like I see something or I smell something. It's weird, right? So I don't know how that translation would work in sex. I wouldn't take it seriously.
You're like, I don't know and I don't want to know.
Yeah. Like my mom is the type of person who at parents teacher evening should go to the teacher after feedback and it should say have a wonderful world, right? When in fact she was meant to say have a wonderful evening, but she's saying it in Chichewa in her head, but in English, you know what I'm saying?
I get that.
So honestly, like no, I don't think so. No. I don't
Did you have the sex chat?
I did not have the sex chat, and sometimes I do wonder, I do wonder what it would be like to have like a more open kind of relationship with my parents, to be able to just like talk about that kind of stuff. Especially like with my content and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Does your mom watch your content?
No, my parents literally they watch, they share everything. So now, my dad is like he's like my biggest fan.
I love that, but wow.
Because I'm pretty sure at some point your dad's standing there with coffee and he's like, all these people coming to my house.
Let me see what's going on.
And he's like, the birth control episode was really interesting.
Okay.
And he'd like make comments and stuff, and I'm like, okay, but like it would be different, and I wonder if it would be different in a good way if we could like just openly really speak about that. But no, also part of me is like traumatized.
It's fine.
By that idea. So we haven't had that. We haven't had the sex chat. We don't really speak about that.
You know what's crazy? Because I think about it now. Like I remember when I used to study like with my dad, and with like in particular biology, and there were specific sections that would speak about sexual health, reproductive, whatever, and then he would just skip over it. And I'm like, you know, you think about it, you're like, okay, I see. And then I remember there was a time when my dad had like a full-blown, he called me out because my laptop wallpaper was of Taylor Lautner
Shirtless.
Shout out
Shitless.
to Jacob, Twilight era.
Team
and
Jacob,
my dad thought it was porn until years later when he actually saw Twilight, and then he was like, yeah, no, I understand now why you...
Sorry,
You know, and this was after high school. This was in my university, so my dad watched Twilight. He was like, "Oh, is this the guy you had on your?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yes, I was Team Jacob." Like, obviously, you didn't get it, but I wouldn't have like a naked man on my. He had
For
jean
nothing.
shorts. So, like, do you understand?
He
It
was
my
just
boyfriend.
topless.
He was just topless. So
That was so
sex
dramatic.
And relationships were not spoken about in the household. I rarely ever bought. Like even in high school, I didn't bring my boyfriends home. I didn't. Like I'd always go out. You know, hang out with them. I never spoke to them about, even with my sister, like, really. I think it was only when I got to varsity, then I brought my first serious boyfriend home. And I think it was a bit of a shock because he was white, and my parents were like,
They're like, what's going on?
oh.
Is this
But I
your
could also
friend from
tell.
school?
I could, no. It wasn't a friend from school. I met him on Tinder. So even then, I didn't even tell my parents that I met him on Tinder.
Yeah.
So
Do they know now?
I don't even know if I don't think they
Folks.
know what Tinder is. So I was like, no, you know what, mom, dad, this is this guy. I met him at like a varsity party thing. They kind of liked him, but I could also just tell from their body language that this wasn't like, he wasn't the right addition to the family. I could even just tell how my mom, every time I'd mention like, oh, I'm doing this with this person, she'd be like, oh, okay. Compared to the current person I'm with now, where my parents have just accepted him into the family. Like, he can easily just be like outside, ring the intercom, and my dad will open for him. You know, like things like that.
Wow.
Like,
Is
it's
it your current partner?
yeah, current partner is also white.
I'm sensing a pattern.
he-
No. Listen, I, as a humanitarian, have done my fair share of dating all over the world and races, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think I've
boys,
never,
all kind of boys.
during my high school experience, I never dated white guys.
Oh, okay.
So it was only when I entered university I was like, okay, let's see how this
Let's see how that
goes. And then here we
Yeah.
are. But I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever had that conversation with my parents. I know for a fact if I had to bring, I know this is gonna sound weird though, but my dad doesn't like, if I had to bring an Indian guy home, my dad would flip. My dad, it would be a serious intervention. I don't know why.
Really?
My dad's just never had great
Experiences.
business wise, personal wise.
I get that.
He's experienced some form of racism and like, you know, like,
Yeah.
so I think if I had to bring an Indian guy home, oh,
For me,
intervention. Yeah,
for
for you,
me,
Lingy.
the only chat, and it was a single sentence that
Okay.
my dad said to me. It was just one random day.
Yeah.
I don't know what had happened in life. He was just like, if you ever get pregnant, you're gonna go raise your child with your grandmother. And
Okay.
he said it in Zulu, by the way.
Wow.
So that was it. That was it. However,
Wow.
though, I will say this: he was very adamant on treating me the way he would have wanted a man to treat me. He was very
Okay,
adamant.
that's
like
good.
he even told me like,
That's
I'm
good.
doing all these things to show you how a man should treat you. He was very he was very spot on about that, very adamant.
Yeah.
And also, there was a time I did bring a boyfriend home when I was 16.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And he met him. It was very weird. He had to meet him because I mean I was his matric dance day, so like he had to know like
Okay.
who was I going with?
Yeah.
Who's this nigga?
Yeah.
Right? And I was 16. He was in matric. He was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, sharp. Like he wasn't too like offish
Yeah.
about that. He was, for a Zulu man, he was quite modern, let me
Okay.
say. So yeah, but my mother, I mean, it's a little different for her because I mean I was really, really young. My mother was just very dramatic in her own way.
Yeah.
I actually remember her, I think I've told the story before. She was very erratic one day. She was just like, do you watch porn? I'm like, hold.
Oh,
I think I was in like grade 4, grade 5, something like that.
Grade
I was like, what is that? Like, I didn't know what porn was.
my
I'm like, what's porn? And she's like, no, porn is when you like have like, she's saying this in Zulu, right? Porn is like when you have like naked bodies on your phone. I'm like, naked bodies on your phone? Why would I have that? And so she exposed me to that. And I was like, later on when I found out what porn was, I was like, oh, this is what she meant. But like, wow, sissy.
Dang.
Wow.
Anyway. Is wild.
Yeah.
And you be like,
What's the question again?
in terms of like your
Sex
parents'
chats.
expectations of dating.
Expectations.
Like, have you brought a boyfriend home? Where your
Hell
parents
no.
are like, oh, okay.
Well, you know, to be honest, it's very different.
You're an adult.
My mom is
so
like,
what's-
my mom's like, come on, bring somebody.
I
girl.
need an husband, and I need an husband
Where's your
now.
husband?
Because
Where's your
her and
husband?
My mom and my dad started dating at 19 and they've been together ever since. Oh my God. So she's just like, this is interesting. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fine, mom. But like, even like the guys that I do date and stuff, I honestly, we just don't have that culture in my household of bringing partners home. So I did
Yeah, because we
tell-
black. Because
You
bring
know what I'm
somebody who's
saying?
about to marry you. The
Exactly.
cows.
That's
That's
kind of the
important.
thing.
They must bring
And
the
I
cows.
have not found a potential husband yet.
Yeah.
Or been like that.
In these streets,
Yeah.
it's tough.
In this dating
Yeah.
pool.
In this dating economy, it's
first
not
of
even
all-
a pool. It's a
first of
pond.
all-
Not even a
first of
pond.
all-
It is a little, not even a
First
lake.
of
It's
all-
water on the streets with infested
What
little
I don't
things.
understand is how Candice is the loudest one here and she's in a relationship. That's what I don't get. Candice is in a
No, she's like, I had to fight to get
but
here.
she's out here.
No, when
loud
I was,
as hell.
let me explain. Last year when I was single from August
Yeah.
to about January, Feb this year, right? Okay. My hot girl summer was hot. I was hot.
Yeah.
But
That's right.
the other people are not hotting.
They were not hard.
Because why? The dating pool is not even a pool. It is an infested water
Swamp. It's a
swamp
swamp.
with
Yeah,
things.
period.
And then when you find what you think you might want, then they turn out to be a frog, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be anti-vaxxers, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Then they turn out to have children, and the baby mamas have a court order against them, and you're like, oh, okay. You know, like so much drama.
Yeah.
That was the experiences I had in those 6 months. Of
You give us hope
being
though
single.
that there's light at the end of the tunnel. If
I
you
went
went
back.
through all of that.
I went back.
So
to my
just go
ex.
back to your ex.
Oh, you went back to your ex?
No, go back to your ex. Guys,
If the ex is willing to put in the work and say,
Guys.
I account for the
My
wrongs that I
son
did, I
went
want
down
you to make
bad.
this work, then you're like, sharp, because there's nothing out there.
yeah. Shout out to Sisipo because she said, go back to your ex as much as you can until you are full. Until you can see, yeah, no, I am full of this guy. It's fine. Go back until you can't go back anymore. Go back to your ex, guys. What are you
I
what you
do
gonna
not
do? What
endorse
you gonna
this
do?
message.
What you gonna do? The dating pool out here is trash. What you gonna do?
I just like to say that South Africa has a lot of nunneries, you know, available. So rather than going back to an ex,
Do you see Bokang?
you see, I don't endorse
The girl
these
that's
methods
wearing
at
a
all.
pink bucket hat, you see her being a nun with a bedazzled
I'm
nunnery
like,
outfit.
Hey, listen, the Lord will drop that man at my doorstep one
Oh.
day.
No, he will. He will.
He better. I don't
He
have
has
a
to
choice
drop
at
him on
this
my
point.
lap. There's no other way.
your lap,
At this
even.
point, there's
On your
no
lap.
other way.
On your lap.
He has to drop him on my lap.
But I do love and appreciate what you said about if your ex is willing to do the work. Like
Yeah.
both of you guys, you know?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're like, actually, I do want to be with you, and not because there's not anyone else out there.
100%,
You know?
100%. I think often there's just, I wouldn't say it's Twitter actually. Twitter believes that you shouldn't get back with your ex, but I think it
Mara,
really
Twitter
depends.
standards.
Yeah, Twitter standards. It really
Yeah.
depends on the person that you're with, because it wasn't that the person was bad. It was just, I think there were circumstances that were making us feel both frustrated.
Yeah.
And we're like, ugh, I don't know if it's is it you, is it me? We're not sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, couples therapy has really just been an eye-opening experience because
Wow.
we've been able to just understand each other's history
Yeah.
of love and parents drive a huge role in how your child loves other people, because
yes.
like when you're sitting on a couples therapy, and then the therapist is like, so tell me about your home, tell me about how you grew up, and tell me how you saw love or how you view love. And you realize, so when I saw my parents do this, and then I assumed this is what it's like, or I saw my parents do this and I knew this is not what I wanted. And then you're trying to now sort of bring that into your relationship, but then oftentimes you realize that you're actually mimicking what your parents did. So now you're trying to it's a lot. It's like a huge pattern, and it's really eye-opening. And at least we're both making the commitment and we're willing to be back together and just say,
I love that.
Let's work on it. Let's just also be open and vulnerable with each other when we make mistakes, because we're not perfect. There's often a lot of times when relationships look like, from what we see in terms of Instagram and Twitter, that they look perfect, but you don't see the full picture. You don't see the times when you're struggling. You don't see the times when you're being tempted, you're being challenged, like the full picture. So I'm not saying this to be like, oh yeah, go back to your ex. Like, it's really dependent on you, right? And it's really dependent on like the circumstances around the relationship. There's some people where they're really bad for you, and there's some people where really good for you, but maybe like the circumstances don't allow. But for us, the circumstances brought us back together, and that period where we were both single, I think, made us realize that we wanted to be with each other even more. So
beautiful.
It's really powerful. And my parents are happy because like they really like him. So my mom even calls him son-in-law, and it's like, where are the cows?
No, but honestly, where are they? Where are the cows? Candice, are you applying pressure? We're just gonna go hint there.
I'm always dropping the hint.
Do you even want cows? Because that's another expectation from our parents, that especially
they want
daughters,
marriage.
you know?
It comes and goes sometimes, and I'm like, I'm okay with what Oprah did.
Really?
Where Oprah was just like, her husband can stay in another house on the same property as a husband partner. Like things like that.
Is that what's happening? They don't live like together.
During COVID, she was in her mansion. He was in her house.
Imagine a whole mansion,
in the garden.
guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
That man has proposed I don't know how many times, and she said, no, I don't want.
I'm too much of a physical toucher to do that. I need to live in your skin.
Yeah.
I need to be inside you
at
all times.
Yeah, I think the reasons for getting married need to differ. I think you really need to want to get married and not want to get married because your parents want you to get married.
100%.
So it's just a societal expectation.
It's a need. I think you need to have that strong desire. And for me, it's like it comes and it goes. Mostly when it comes, it's like, oh yeah, I can see myself with this person, babies, and then it goes when I see the prices of wedding venues and
nappies
and nappies and the cost of fuel and
school fees.
Yeah.
What about you, Lungi?
Yeah.
What about me?
Do you want to get married?
Oh yeah. I want the whole shebang. Okay. I want marriage, children.
Yeah.
Like I want the whole thing. I want to be married with children.
She want the
I
whole
even want twins.
thing.
Yeah.
Do
you have like a timer on that, or are you just letting it happen as it happens?
I'm letting it happen as it happens. Obviously, I have like a life goal. Like I have plans for my life. But so I want to let it happen as it happens. So obviously when I meet the guy, and we are both wanting to get married, I do have like a thing of, hey, I'm seeing us getting married in this and this much time. If you aren't married, if you don't see that, let me know so I can go. Like I said in the expectations versus what was it? Expectations versus ultimatums episode. The ultimatum episode. My expectations are very much like, if you are here for me, be here for me.
Come on.
Because I'm 10 toes in. With my fingers as well. So if you're not here, let me know
body.
now so I
up
can
to
be
the
out.
elbow.
The whole body.
The whole up to here. My whole body is inside.
Yeah.
So if you're not there, let me know so I can be with someone that's serious, because I'm very serious about what I want.
All right.
So,
Okay, cool. So, we have a feature on what the relationship where we read your lovey-dovey stories, okay? And you know how to submit your stories.
Yes.
Without Lungi having to explain. Okay.
I'll start. You know what I'm gonna do?
Yes,
I'm gonna put
Lungi.
the
Yes.
email at the bottom. I'm gonna put it at the bottom.
Yes.
But yeah, it's hello dot.
Yes. WTR podcast.
Relationship.
WTR podcast at gmail.com.
I think we need to change it to.
Now I must start a whole new account.
Yo.
No, aye, please.
I'm just gonna put
She's
it
just
in
gonna
the
put
description, guys, and
yes.
in the video. It's here. It's
So if you would love us to read your lovey-dovey stories, anonymously, of course, you can either email us or you can slide into our DMs on Instagram. We accept e-wallets. If
slide in a slider.
Yeah, that's what he said. All right,
we killed it.
Our story today is help. Extremely traditional parents are putting major strain on my relationship. So I, as a female, have been exclusively dating a wonderful guy who's 30 years old.
Wait,
for
how old
7
is
months.
she?
She's 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are very happy together and can see a future together. The problem is that we both still live at home, and my extremely traditional and conservative parents are getting in the way of our relationship. They won't allow overnight sleepovers. Okay. They feel they must be home if he comes to my house. I am lucky that he is pretty understanding about all of it, but sometimes it does get to him, rightfully so. I mean, he's a 30-year-old man. He wants to be in an adult relationship, not treated like he's still in middle school. Thank you. I was wondering if anyone else has ever been in this situation, has any advice or insight for me. It would be greatly appreciated, as if I'm having trouble balancing my relationship with my parents and my relationship with my boyfriend. How do I deal with traditional parents while still maintaining a normal adult relationship with boyfriend? Are the parents black? Are they black?
Can I say something?
Are they black?
Nah, forget that, right? Okay, I understand, nah, the economy is a bit weird right now. But 25 and 30? Parents' homes?
Listen.
Especially the guy. Especially the 30-year-old living with the parents. Sir.
Corona, guys. Corona.
First of all, how are you saying that?
No.
You're saying that you want to be in an adult relationship, but you're a 30-year-old man living with your parents. Okay, sharp. So obviously, the parents have their own rules. So if you want an adult relationship, leave and be an adult. Be your own man in your own space. That's one. Two. Sleepovers. Are you serious? You sound like a high school child. For real.
So can they not do Airbnb?
That's what I was about to say, right?
So
at least do Airbnb, right?
You know,
at least do Airbnb.
Yeah.
Nah, that's true. 3.
There's a list, guys.
You can read this and just like, I'm meant to do my homeworks.
3, yeah, they're traditional, whatever. I mean, I wouldn't know any of this because I obviously don't have experience, but I'm sure there's a point at which you have conversations with your parents when you're growing up, like, hey, I am this age now. This is what I'm going to do. I've heard that you have to start disappointing your parents at some point.
Yeah.
Just to let them know that, hey, listen here. This is me. I am an individual.
Yeah.
I know you have expectations of me, but I'm an individual, and this is what I want to do with my life. So, but all in all, for me, it's the whole problem is them living with their parents.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I totally agree in that. If you're under your parents' house,
Yeah.
you gotta abide by their rules.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And literally, like you guys said, Airbnb, make a plan, put in a little bit of effort. That could even add to the relationship, the
Exactly.
romance,
Exactly.
you know.
Intimacy.
Yeah, guys, and also I'm just trying to envision, getting freaky deaky with my partner and then my parents in the other room. You know? Yeah, guys, aish. I totally agree because I feel like sometimes, when you are a grown-ass person,
And grown as they are.
Yeah, 30. 30.
and then your parents still treat you like a child or don't give you. But at the same time, I do feel like if you do want those adult privileges, you are
Be an
gonna have
adult.
to extract yourself from that situation, and don't expect your parents to make the compromise. You
Right.
guys are the ones that should be compromising
Yeah.
in one way, or maybe not compromising, but just coming up with a
But
different
having
way.
the conversation.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've only been dating for a couple of months, right? I think I only started having the
How long?
couple of months, 7.
7, Gandhi.
Yeah.
7 months?
I think it's 7. It should be
It's 7 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
7
yes.
months. So like, I only started having that chat about moving in, I think after 2 years, right? Because moving in with someone is an actual commitment. You're signing a lease together,
Yeah.
right? It's not just coming with paying rent every month. You also have to expenses, grocery. It's a whole different world. And I think when you make that commitment to moving in with someone, you're sort of making the commitment to say, I'm also ready to live with you for the rest of my life,
yes.
right? Rest of my life with asterisks for some people,
Yeah.
Kardashians. So I think, I don't know, 7 months is too early in my opinion,
It
but I
is.
guess people have their own different
is.
situations. I have friends who not even after 3 months, 2 months of dating someone, my friend was like, yeah, come into my place. You've got
Is
the
that
key.
not talking stage?
You know what I'm saying?
I'm screaming, not the talking stage.
I don't know, it's different. Each relationship's different, right? You want to live in your person. I get that.
Yeah, but 2
But,
months.
It's
2 months, Candice.
hey,
2 months.
People just love. People love. Okay.
No, but not
they
enough.
love it.
Not enough for me to share rent with you. Not enough. Not enough to share a lease.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was in her own apartment, and then when her babe would come and see her when he wanted to, then he would stay for some days, some weekends, and then it got to a point where he was there staying full time, and then he would just send money to her account to pay for the rent. And then eventually, I think, was it 8 months later, 8 months into the relationship, then they actually got an apartment together.
Wow.
And then now, they're married now after, it's almost been, I think it's going to be a year in August. I
Wow,
think, or
they're
something.
married. These are
Yeah.
people that know
This
what
is
they
a couple,
want.
I put them together. Okay, shout out to Candice, the ministerial matchmaking service.
Can you put me on to?
Yeah, me too.
Because
We need some help now. Some divine intervention, please.
I think we need to start that that thing of where people post a picture of she's looking for all these things, hashtag looking for. But in my experience, I know I wanna move in with my partner, right? But the chat that we're having right now is about, I know I'll have to disappoint my parents, right? I know I'm going to disappoint them when I'm saying, okay, I'm moving out. I don't know how I'm going to have that conversation with them to say I'm moving out with my bae. I don't know how I'm going to have that, but I'm going to have it either way. At least by then it would have been 5 years of us dating.
Yeah,
they know
and
him
they
really
know
well,
him.
versus me just moving in with some random roommate that they probably don't know. But we've had that conversation of saying, okay, we've opened our own separate bank account that was purely for rent, but we're going to save money so that we have 6 months up front so that we're not stressing. There's things like that. These are conversations you have to have.
And
but this is with
the
a
money
5-year
conversation.
relationship.
Yeah.
So now you're going to be having the money conversation with your 7-month
that's not even a gestation
relationship
period
Do you know
for
what I'm saying?
a human
it's
being.
Too soon. That's
It
what
is
I
too
feel.
soon.
She's adding so much pressure on this relationship where they don't even know what their farts smell like. Whoa.
That's what I'm saying.
Rest.
It would make so much sense if either of them had their own places.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And do we know
Like,
if
they
she's
need-
working
yes.
because now she's putting the pressure on him
Exactly.
to support them financially? How is his job situation?
But it seems like they
Yeah.
don't really want to change their situation. They just want to be able to do their stuff in their parents' homes, not even the
No,
Yeah.
guys.
You know what I mean?
No, me, I'm saying move out. Both of you.
I agree.
Both of you move out.
But that
Yeah.
requires a very deep conversation because
No,
with
move
moving
out.
out requires who's paying for the internet, who's paying.
No.
for,
I'm not saying move in together. I'm
she
saying
must move out.
both of you
Yeah.
move out of your parents' homes into your own apartments.
yeah.
Guys, I can't stress enough how much you need a person that has lived by themselves before.
Yeah.
Alone.
Yeah.
Like by themselves.
Yeah.
Because when you live by yourself, you eventually come into yourself. You
Yeah.
know who you are as a person. You come
Facts.
into your identity. You have these things like You get to learn how to cook for yourself. You get to learn how to clean your own apartment. Like, you get to learn these
And
basic
men
things
really
that
need that.
human beings need to know in order to live in a house.
And
right?
to furthermore, to add to that point,
Yes.
specifically in addition to, when you then live with someone who sometimes forgets to put the toilet seat down, all right, and then will randomly leave their sock in the middle of nowhere, and then like the dishes aren't like why?
You see.
Why?
You see,
Like,
you need
it's
these
too
things.
soon.
No, guys, it's too
It's
soon.
too soon.
I'm going back to the ball sweat flavored popcorn.
Huh?
I'm going to the ball sweat flavored popcorn. Okay. you need to live by yourself, so you don't need to deal with that. Okay.
Oh Lord. Good God.
Listen.
I'm going back to that.
Listen. But I also think what's interesting is she asked, like, how do I have the conversation with traditional parents, right? And we live in a very progressive society. So in traditional is they're assuming once they are dating, he's going to propose, they get married, and then, you know, move
And
in
then move
together.
in.
And to me, I think she doesn't want that, like, progress yet. She just wants to date this person, do their things, whatever. I don't know if having traditional mindset serves in the way relationships today works, because as we see clearly, people are able to date this person whilst date this person's aware that they're dating this person dating, you know, like what I'm saying. And then sometimes there are people who will date married people, you know, like, it's not traditionalist. It really isn't. And I think she needs to let go of that notion of like, you have to disappoint your parents. You're going to have to disappoint them.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
you're 25. At some point, you have to disappoint them.
But don't
That's
just,
what I'm saying.
I don't know, like, just move out by
That's all I'm
yourself.
saying. Just move out, man.
Don't.
Both of you. Both of you.
The man, fine, whatever. Move out.
Okay, but what if moving out is not an option for her?
What is wise? Like, maybe because she's not working?
Yeah,
or
maybe like
Or
financially.
financially.
Yeah.
Then
So what do
he
you
needs
guys-
to, then if he's working and he's financially stable, then he needs to get his own place. And then she could have like stay there for weekends and then stay with her parents for a week. Like,
Yeah.
No,
Make
but
it
still,
work.
even if both of them aren't able to move out, right? I'm still saying, have the conversation, because now traditional years, I don't even know if the parents know about this man. But hey, I mean, in your 25 years of living, have you never spoken about relationships or whatever? Also, we don't know the culture of these people,
Yeah.
so we can't
Yeah.
really, say anything. But I'm saying have a conversation, because
Yeah.
how do the parents then expect for her to get a husband if
Yeah.
these things are not put in place?
Yeah.
She does need to have some freedom at some time, at some point in time. They don't want her
Yeah.
to be 40 and still living with them, saying, hey, when are we going to have a husband? When are we going to get children? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's like
So-
that thing online where they say that African parents are just so wild because
'Cause
your whole
the switch
life,
up.
your whole life it's
Bro.
like no boys, stay away from them,
Bro.
and then all of a sudden, where's the husband? No,
Exactly.
when am I having kids?
Exactly.
so crazy.
I think having that conversation is like taking steps to kind of ease yourself and your
Yeah.
parents into going into that next stage.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I think I've learned just disappoint your parents.
I
Live your life,
have
girl.
a
Live
last
your life.
question before we end off.
Is it another therapy question?
No,
Okay.
it's not. It's not.
Hey, I know the therapy one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
you-
and she
driving.
started, and she started like, well, getting comfortable. You know, like the intro hadn't even said, and she was like, yeah.
Anyway,
let's go.
Let's go. We obviously know your answer, but would you live with your person before marriage?
I ideally would like to live with them before marriage. And
And how
funnily
long?
enough, before I answer that, I don't think my mom's a bit more progressive than my dad, but
Okay.
I don't think she'd have a problem with it. I think, they lived together before they were married as well. So they can't tell me nothing.
Yeah, you're fine.
They really
You're
can't tell
sorted.
me nothing.
Yeah.
And then what was the second question? Oh, ideally how long?
Yes. How long?
See, I'm also like now just contemplating the whole marriage thing as well. Not necessarily that I don't want to get married, but I just want to make sure that if I want to get married and having kids and all that. It's my decision, and that's what I want, and not something that I've been taught to want or expected to have, and just kind of following through with it.
Right.
So even with marriage, I think I've come to terms with the fact that I do want marriage, but I'm not necessarily like, I want it now.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So if I met someone like tomorrow, please, then
She's out here, guys. You see her face. She's beautiful.
but don't
educated
please.
woman. Black woman.
You know?
Black girl magic. She's out here.
Thank you, but please just be a decent human being.
Hey.
Yeah, but in terms of how long, I think like, yeah, if I met someone now, maybe like I'd move in with him. Yo, guys, I don't know. But I wouldn't mind living with them like maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then marriage. But then I'm also just like, what's the difference? If I'm already living with you, what
I hear
difference
you.
does marriage
Yeah,
make?
I hear you.
circumstances are very different because I mean, like, if I look at my sister's case, they've been dating for 7 years, and for the 5 years they were together, they were living together, and then they got married, right? So for her, it was like, yeah, marriage is sort of the same. However, now it's like, this is my husband, right?
Yeah.
Expectations are different
Yeah.
versus where you're dating. It's like, okay, yeah, boyfriend, ha ha ha. And then when I think of like my other friend who recently started dating beginning of February.
Yeah.
And I think by March he was at his place, not all the time,
Yeah.
but then now they're moving together. It's June. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think relationships are different.
Yeah.
They
Depends
met
on
in
the person.
February
No,
and they
for
move
me-
in together
Yeah.
in June.
Yeah.
For me,
I know.
Okay, interesting.
Guys,
I would prefer to move in just before we get married.
wait, just before, so you know the way you.
Yeah,
the wedding
like
date's
as in
confirmed.
like yes.
What if-
because I like the idea of getting to know how this person lives, because obviously he'll have his own place, I'll have mine.
Right.
So I would imagine that I would be visiting him often. He'd be visiting me often. We'd see how each other, lives, whatever. And then closer to the date, then he gets a place for us. Then we get married.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
love
then
it. He
then
gets
we.
a place for us.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He's the one that's
I
gonna
think my
get the
fear
place.
for that is
and then
like-
we move in together.
My fear is like, okay, so we're getting married in November, and then we move in together in like February, and then our experience of living together is horrible that we call off the wedding.
You see?
I
You see
hear
now.
that. I hear you.
But it's
That's
the
why
same-
I'm saying he would visit often. I would visit often.
It's different
Like, it
when
would-
you have a visitor, right? Because you know when they're leaving.
Not really.
Versus when they are
because-
there 24/7,
I mean, he'll
every
have-
day, they're in your bed every morning.
Yes,
you wake
every
up to the same morning
Sometimes it
bread.
would be weeks on end. He'll probably have clothes at my place. I'll probably have clothes at his place. Like we'd practically be living together. It's just that
Yeah.
the finances wouldn't be.
Intertwined as of yet. I hear you. I think I would definitely live with someone before I get married. Like way, like at least a year or two before marriage. Because I need to experience. I need to fully experience. Like, this is the person that I'm ready to commit my life. This is how they make noodles. This is how they make hot chocolate. You know, things
They
like
like
that.
cooking. They
Eh?
like dishes.
You know what I'm
they-
saying?
Our lifestyles compatible.
Yeah, are
They
they
like leaving the
compatible?
toilet
Is there
seat
peace
up?
in this household? I'm not fighting over, things like that.
Stupid
Like,
things, roommate things. Like, I really hate roommate fights. Those are the worst. Like you don't do chores. You don't. Yeah.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it. But I think overall, this episode made me realize that we aren't our parents,
Yeah.
right? And when it comes to like dating, go for what you want.
Yes.
Even if it's Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, girl.
Hello, Lewis.
Hi, Lewis.
Hi.
I hope you're good. Hope you're good. Just go for what you want. Go for what your heart wants. And even if it's not what your parents like, I know it's not like Bridgerton dramatic, but like,
Yeah.
if you really want to move in with your person, if your heart feels strongly about it, do that, and your parents will still love you at the end of the day, so long as they can see that you're happy with this person. Yeah. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I totally agree. You gotta live life for yourself. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, you can't
Yeah.
live to make other people happy
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
expense of yourself. And that's gonna mean that you're gonna face some hard decisions. But man, that's life. You gotta grow up and realize that this is your narrative.
Yes.
Okay, don't want to look back at 80 and be like, oh, I wish I did this differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or resent, your partner or yourself
Yeah.
for decisions that you made that weren't true to you. So yeah, be a little selfish. Now's the time. Yeah.
I agree. Be your own person. And for people like me who have already lost their parents, kind of let go of the idea of the type of people your parents wanted you to date. Yes, they want you to have somebody respectful that loves them, whatever. But if they had certain expectations or like certain careers, whatever, that they wanted you to date or marry or whatever, be your own person. And just realize who you are, what you want. Just be you.
I agree.
Yeah.
And please be you by liking our podcast, leaving a comment on our video, subscribe to our YouTube video and YouTube channel and all those things. Leave us 5 stars or how many
5
stars, but preferably 5 stars on our podcast. Please be sure to follow Bokang. We'll drop all of her handles in the comments section, description section. But yeah, as usual, from me, Candice.
And me.
And
me, Bokang.
we are out. Bye.